Hey there, it's Eric Reanimator coming back with another video for y'all. Sorry about the weird angle to start with here. I'm trying to get this picture. So I logged into Facebook this afternoon and my buddy Tom had drawn that picture of me doing this. Super cool, very honored. Tom, of course, is the main guy behind the band The Forbidden Dimension, Color Me Psycho, both of whom I've talked about previously. I don't actually have any of their stuff in this closet because it's all over there in my special little box of all the stuff that is really special and important to me. Maybe a little box. Maybe I'll show that sometime. Anyway, coming back with maybe a little bit different kind of video. There's no vinyl this time around. I haven't really found anything. Don't really have anything to show. Before we get started, like our good friend Jared, Backwood Metal, check his podcast out. Or his podcast, I'm sorry, we'll get to that in a minute. His channel out. He's a cool dude. He really loves his metal. Jared, though, if you're watching, man, I know you like other stuff than metal, and I'd like to see you show some of that. I've heard you talk a little bit about country and rap and that kind of stuff. So, as much as I dig the metal, and I know you got a metal channel, let's see some of the other stuff that you dig. Anyways, he usually does what he calls VC cheer, and this is mine. There's not a lot of this left. Yes, that is not English. That is sameoke, which is a Finnish drink, which is black licorice flavored. So if you like black licorice, if you're a Sambuca fan, if you can get your hands on some of the stuff, check it out. So I got a little bit here. This bottle's almost done. My brother brought me this back from Finland like 2 years ago or something. So cheers. And my shot glass is this little Coors mug thing. It was my dad's back in the 70s. It's probably the only shot glass I know for sure that I got from him. Speaking of Finland, I know a lot of you guys are doing that 70s hard and heavy thing out there. I don't have any vinyl to show for that. However, this is the Hurricanes. They were a 70s hard rock band from Finland that were pretty important to punks in Finland and in Sweden, or a lot of punks. My friends who were part of the punk scene recommend this band. This is their album Roadrunner. This is the only one of their records that I actually have. I picked this up in Finland. If you're into that 70s hard and heavy stuff, check them out. If you like the rock and roll, check them out. So, speaking of things, well, what do we got here? Okay. There was a band that I kind of liked that was back in the 2000s. I found they were called Bang Sugar Bang. They put out a couple cool kind of power poppy rock records, and then they vanished. And I didn't really know what happened to them. But I ran across a documentary on Hulu or Amazon or something called In Heaven There Is No Beer. And it is a documentary about the 2000 era LA rock and roll underground scene, which was known as Kiss or Kill, and Bang Sugar Bang, and a band called the Dolly Rots, who were really cool power pop kind of pop punk band, were kind of the big bands in that scene. But they put out 2 compilations, and I'm still waiting for the second one to show up from Amazon, but this is the volume 1. This has got the Randys, Deadbeat Sinatra, the Dolly Rots, Billion Stars, Bang Sugar Bang, let's see, Open Letter, Silver Needle. Cool stuff. If you like the kind of power pop, power punk, pop punk stuff, check them out, and definitely that documentary is worth a look. All right. I mentioned podcast a bit ago. I've been on a couple recently. First one I want to talk about, we talked about this album, the Twisted Willie album, which is the 90s tribute to Willie Nelson. This has got Johnny Cash, it's got L7, it's got Super Suckers, it's got Presidents of the United States of America, Jerry Cantrell, and Mark Lanigan. So all you country guys out there, at the very least, you should check out the tracks by Cantrell and Lanigan. Super great stuff. I like about 2/3 of this record, maybe a little bit more, but we recently talked about it on the Dig Me Out podcast, so you can just Google search for Dig Me Out. I've been on that podcast a number of times, but most recently it was for this album, which was my pick for my Patreon support album for 2017. I will definitely be on that show again this year on a roundtable or 2, and then I'm probably going to have another requested review at some point. I haven't submitted those yet, so that's all going to be in the future. And yes, I'm going to keep sticking stuff over there. So another podcast I was on recently, it's called the See Here podcast. See Here. They cover movies that deal with music, so documentaries, fiction, biographies, all that kind of stuff. And once again, it was a film that I picked, And you 70s hard rock fans and you classic rock fans, if you haven't seen this movie, I highly recommend it. At the very least, go on to YouTube, search Trailers from Hell for Still Crazy to hear Mick Garris talk about this film. It's from the late 90s. It's about a 70s band, fictional 70s band that broke up and get a chance to come back together, and it's about adults having to deal with their past and what they did as young men and the legacy of their music. Good stuff. Check it out. It's probably about a B film as far as a rating goes. It's not perfect, but it's got a lot of heart, and I really dig it, and I'd love for more people to see it. Okay, so on to the music. Stuff that I've picked up recently or gotten recently. So this I ordered, and I had held off for probably a year or two to get this. This is Motor Bunny. This is just kind of full throttle pop punk pop rock. It's not pop punk. It's rock pop. Cool stuff. Female lead singer. This is an offshoot of a band I like called the Love Me Nots. So if that sounds like something you dig, check it out. So then some thrift store finds and some stuff from a book sales that I went to a couple weekends ago. First of all, some of the music forums that I follow on Facebook. There's one called Feed My Ears. If you guys want to join, we just talk about music. There's no other, nothing else, just music. One of the records I hear young people, and by young I mean people probably 10 years younger than me, talk about a lot that I just never got into the 90s, but people say, oh, it's a perfect record. You should check it out. So I found this for like $1 or $2. This is Third Eye Blind's album. I've listened to it once or twice. It's okay. I'm going to keep listening to it. It will probably grow on me at some point. Wanda Jackson's greatest hits. Wanda Jackson was kind of one of the great female rock and rollers of the 50s. She was considered the female Elvis. That's how they tried to sell her. This does not necessarily have her greatest hits on it, and it really doesn't, because they're all missing. There's no Fujiyama Mama or Funnel of Love. But great singer, great stuff. Picked this up for $2. Well worth the $2. These are all from library sales. Death Proof soundtrack. Tarantino knows how to put a soundtrack together, whether you like his films or not. So I saw this for $2, and sure, why not? And then finally, for soundtracks from this bunch, the Adventureland soundtrack. This has got Lou Reed, David Bowie, Big Star, The Cure, Falco. A lot of 80s stuff, but also New York Dolls, Husker Du replacements. So sure, $2, why not? All right, so then I went to a local thrift store. Or wait a minute, I got one more, sorry, from the book sale. Alkali Trio, Crimson. Alkali Trio is one of the few of those 2000 era punk bands I actually enjoyed. I actually like the record before this a lot better, but this is a solid record. Like I said, for $2, sure, sold. This is what I have in the CD player now. Living in Oblivion, 80s Greatest Hits, Volume 3. You got Human League, Bananarama, Dream Academy, Johnny Hates Jazz, Timbuk 3, Cutting Crew, all that great 80s stuff. It was $2. I become kind of a sucker for 80s new wave stuff in the last couple of years. This is not stuff I listened to when I was growing up, but it was around. And it's one of the last areas I'm looking to explore. And this wasn't 75 cents. It was $2. But hey, had to clean up the desk. What is it with people and having these messy discs that they donate and stuff? Clean that shit up. Iggy Pop. The King Biscuit Flower Hour series. Now, this is a live show from Boston circa 88, and I have not listened to this yet. But I just $2, pick it up. I'm never going to see it again for $2. This has got Kill City, Penetration, Easy Rider, I Feel Alright, Cold Metal, Search and Destroy, I Want to Be Your Dog. So a lot of Stooges stuff, some solo Iggy stuff. Looking forward to checking that out. Now they had a bunch of metal and some punk, and some of it was the discs were trashed and there was no way I was going to spend money on them. But a couple I did pick up. And I did leave the Sepultura there. There was 3 Sepultura albums, and I was like, I'm already spending some money, and I'm not a huge Sepultura fan. But Iron Maiden, Brave New World, got that. This was probably the score of the day, and I think I had this at one point in time and probably sold it. And this is not this band's greatest records. In fact, this is not even the greatest lineup of this band. I could have picked this as one of the metal bands that put out credible records with a new lead singer, but I actually don't currently own any of the records with that lead singer, at least the credible ones. This is TSOL, Hell and Back Together, 84 to 1990. This is the hair metal, blues metal second version of TSOL. This is not the punk rock TSOL. TSOL, which is all right. Yeah, this is great video, I know. Bear with me. TSOL, the great LA hardcore punk band, one of the greatest horror punk records ever that a lot of people don't know about. This is kind of a great synthy punk album. This is their reunion live album. This is an album they did for Nitro Records, which was the guy from the Offspring's label. It was actually quite good. This is a later album too. This is very much like the Damned's Machine Gun Etiquette. Well worth checking out. And then this is the compilation of the early stuff of the first lineup. And they have a new record out, which I need to check out. Anyway, this is the lineup that has a song in the Return of the Living Dead soundtrack. There's actually a live record from this era that I think is better because it doesn't have the slick production. Nothing for You, that's the song from the Return of the Living Dead soundtrack. There's also a movie you can find it on YouTube called The Running Kind, which I usually have right here, and I've probably shown it before, that the lead singer from this era is in, Joe Wood. So if you like that era of punk rock, it's kind of a cool little film. It's slight, but I enjoy it. So, at any rate, that's what I have to show you. Thank you, everyone, for watching. This is kind of a longer one for me. I dig watching everybody's channel. If you like what I'm doing, hit subscribe, hit the like button. Something you want to hear me talk about, something you don't want to hear me talk about, let me know in the comments below. Look me up on Facebook, on Twitter. Check out those podcasts, all that good stuff. I'll catch you all next time.